Hi, my name is Vanessa Brown, and I'm an Education and Outreach Coordinator at the Statewide Legal Services of Connecticut. This video will explain how climate change will affect the weather in Connecticut. It is the second video in a series discussing the connection between climate change, natural disasters, and disaster legal concerns for Connecticut residents. To learn about the basics of climate change, watch the previous video, What is Climate Change?, on ctlawhelp.org. This is a website maintained by the Statewide Legal Services of Connecticut to provide free legal information that is easy to understand and reviewed by lawyers for accuracy. We will be adding more disaster legal information to our website for the next few months, so check back for updates. To visit our webpage, you can scan the QR code on the right side of the screen, or you can go to www.ctlawhelp.org and search for disaster assistance. This video will explain how climate change will affect the weather in Connecticut. First, we will review how the temperature has changed and how this can affect the movement of heat. Then, we will learn how temperature changes can influence natural disasters. The climate is indeed changing, even here in Connecticut. However, climate change takes place over the course of decades, so you may not notice those changes from day to day. But when you zoom out and look at all of the weather we have had over the past century, you can begin to see the changes. This is a graph of the Connecticut temperature record. Each black dot is the average temperature recorded for 1 year. When you calculate the average of all of the black dots, you get the red line, which shows that the temperature has been trending upwards. In other words, this graph shows how Connecticut's average temperature has been steadily increasing since 1895. Does this mean it has been hot in Connecticut every single day since 1895? No. While we will still have some cold days each year, they will be outnumbered by hot days. This graph shows 4 different ways a year can become hotter overall, even if it isn't hot every single day. The first 2 columns are frost days. This is the number of days each year where it is cold enough for water to freeze. Now, we have 125 frost days per year. By 2050, we will have just 85 frost days each year. The second 2 columns are heat wave days. This is the number of days each year where it is unusually hot for a sustained period of time. Now, we have 5 heat wave days a year. By 2050, we will have 50 heat wave days per year. The third set of columns are tropical nights. This is the number of nights each year where it is unusually hot. Now, we have 10 tropical nights each year. By 2050, we will have 40 tropical nights per year. The last set of columns is for summer days. This is the number of days which are above 60 degrees each year. Now, we have 80 summer days. By 2050, we will have 100 summer days each year. Altogether, this means the average temperature will increase each year because winter will be shorter, more days will be hot, more nights will be hot, and summer will last longer. Overall, the average temperature will continue to increase each year, even if it is not hot every single day. Weather is the movement of heat. As our temperatures increase, there will be more heat, and this can dramatically affect our weather by changing how convection cycles work. On the left is a convection cycle, which shows how air moves. Warm air rises and cool air sinks. In your home, you may have noticed your basement is cooler than your attic. That is because warm air rises to the top of your home and cool air sinks to the bottom of your home. The upward movement of warm air and the sinking movement of cool air determine a lot of our weather. With climate change, we are having a greater amount of warm air in the sky, and this is causing disruptions to convection cycles. Furthermore, increasing temperatures will also affect our weather by changing the level of moisture in the air. On the left is a box of cool air. There are many dots because cool air is dense. That is why it sinks. On the right is a box of warm air. There are fewer dots because warm air is less dense, which is why it rises. The extra space within warm air means there's more space for water. As a result, warm air holds more moisture than cool air. When it comes to climate change, warm air and moist air are not our friends. I'll have you guess how this can affect our weather. Due to climate change, Connecticut will experience more earthquakes, floods, volcanoes, wildfires, hail, blizzards, heat waves, tsunamis, avalanches, hurricanes. You can select multiple options, and the answer will be revealed soon. This is a diagram of a city and the layers of air above it, called an air column. Usually, the air column has a layer of warm air near the ground, a layer of cooler air above it, and a layer of very cold air on top. In normal conditions, air is heated by the ground and it rises high into the sky where heat is lost to the surrounding air. As warm air moves up into the sky, heat is carried up and away from cities, and this can prevent cities from getting too hot during the summer. However, the real world is not a diagram, and this is not how air always moves. Sometimes the layers within an air column can get mixed up. If a lot of warm air blows into your area, it can squeeze in between the layers of cool air and very cold air. When this happens, the cooler air is now on the bottom, right above the city. Remember, cool air sinks, so this layer of cooler air is pushing downwards. However, there are cars and homes producing heat in the city. That heat wants to rise, but it can't because the cooler air is pushing down. The air above the city is not moving. The city keeps producing heat, but it can't go anywhere. This is a heat wave, a stubborn mass of warm air that sits in one place for several days. Connecticut is becoming warmer due to climate change. As a result, heat waves are becoming hotter, more frequent, and longer lasting. And this is not the only weather change we will experience. This is a diagram of the rain cycle. The sun heats the ocean, and water evaporates into clouds. When the water vapor cools down, it turns back into liquid water, and then it rains. Remember, warm air can hold a lot of moisture. So on a hot day, water will evaporate and evaporate and evaporate, resulting in clouds that can hold a lot more water than usual. And eventually, when it does rain, all of the water can come down at once as a sudden downpour. When a lot of rain falls in a short amount of time, this can cause flash floods. Here's a news clip of a flash flood in West
Open the
Dayton.
door, the water started going in the car.
And just as quickly as the rain came down,
The rain, it was unbelievable, and it would not stop.
Tajua police and her friend found themselves stuck in the middle of Painter Drive.
I saw a car coming through, and I'm like, oh, it's flooded. So, hey, it's flooded. I think maybe we should go. And we left, but it was already too late. The damage was already done, and it just kept getting worse.
To the point where the floodwaters ended up coming up to the trunk, the SUV stalling out.
It didn't look like it was that much water. It didn't look like it was that flooded. Next thing you know, the car shuts down, it shuts off. We can't move it at all. We can't put it in park. We can't put it in drive or neutral. And the water is getting higher and higher.
How much rain do you think fell on this day? 0.75 inches. This flood was caused by less than 1 inch of rain. How can 0.75 inches become deadly? In a span of 2 hours, a day's worth of rain fell. When rain falls all at once or accumulates in one area, floods can happen quickly, which is just what happened on this day. Flash floods are not just a concern for coastal areas. Inland areas can also flood if they are low-lying or near rivers. This diagram shows how something as simple as a clogged sewer drain can lead to a flash flood on any street. Here are 3 floods that affected inland Connecticut within the past year. Connecticut is becoming warmer due to climate change. As a result, more water will evaporate into clouds, and this will cause flash floods to become more common, more intense, and longer lasting. And this will affect people across the state. The third major weather change we will experience is hurricanes. A hurricane is a massive storm with strong winds and large amounts of rain. While hurricanes have not commonly hit Connecticut, we have had our fair share in the past. Here is the record of every hurricane to hit Connecticut since 1700. Do you notice a trend? Hurricanes have become much more frequent in Connecticut. In this century, we have already had 3 hurricanes, which is more than the total number of hurricanes to strike Connecticut in the 1700s. Why are hurricanes becoming more frequent? Heat.
The main reason they're becoming more common is climate change. Heat is more conducive to hurricanes, which form when the ocean is at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. This graph shows that as sea surface temperature has gone up, so has the power of these storms, as measured by strength, duration, and frequency. As wind passes over the ocean's surface, warm water evaporates, cools, and condenses back into water droplets. Up in the atmosphere, that turns into big, stormy clouds. Warm air continues rising and is pulled into the clouds. Winds begin to spin around the center of the formation, and once they've reached 74 miles per hour, the storm officially becomes a hurricane.
The ocean is becoming warmer, and this means hurricanes will form more often. How does this affect us in Connecticut? Well, Connecticut used to be a rare location for hurricanes, but this is now a thing of the past. As the ocean temperature increases, the range of hurricanes is expanding further north. As a result, Connecticut is now in a high-risk zone for hurricanes. Due to climate change, Connecticut residents are more likely to be impacted by hurricanes than ever before. Here's the answer to our trivia question. Due to climate change, Connecticut will experience more heat waves, floods, and hurricanes. We will all be affected by these natural disasters, but we will not all be affected in the same way. The next video explains how discrimination influences which groups of people will be affected by the worst impacts of climate change. Here's the summary for this video. How has the temperature in Connecticut changed in response to climate change? The average temperature in Connecticut is rapidly increasing because winter is becoming shorter and summer is becoming longer. How does temperature affect our weather? As the earth warms, the air and ocean are also warming. This creates ideal conditions for natural disasters such as heat waves, floods, and hurricanes. As a result, natural disasters will become stronger, longer, and more frequent. Will you be affected? Yes, we will all be affected by climate change and natural disasters. However, marginalized communities will bear the brunt of the impacts. Thank you for watching our video on climate change in Connecticut. In the next video, we will discuss how discrimination influences who will be disproportionately impacted by climate change and natural disasters in Connecticut. Visit www.ctlawhelp.org for more information on climate change, natural disasters, and disaster legal concerns. This video series is a part of a project called Access to Resources for Climate Change. ARC is brought to you by the Statewide Legal Services of Connecticut and the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. Thank you.